good evening, good evening. Hot sec for some tech support right here. Yes, let's get this started. Hot quick second for some tech support. Yes, I do the tech support. It's what I do. And so trying to balance everything is we making it happen. We're making it do what it do. We getting it balanced. All right, so we are here. Welcome to happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to the African Speaks. Yet again, I am Ajay, the African. Woo. Yes, and we are in our segment where we are promoting the rise of the African. And it's a beautiful thing because the way I got my name is going to be displayed in these next series, and or the title of not a J as that, but the African. And I'm gonna coin that to, or not coin it. I can't coin it. I'm gonna connect that to my Fundiola bio, where growing up, in Akiba land, and I was working in a nursery, full time missionary. She would always tell the kids when they would act up, we need those Africans who are not afraid to take over a slave ship and row us back to Africa. And so it wasn't something physical she was telling them to do. It was a mindset. And she would look at the kid and say their names, and she would say, "Are you that African?" And so at one point in my life where I knew I wasn't living right, everybody knew I wasn't living right. And it was during Kwanzaa, and I was walking past her, and she said, "Excuse me, brother Ajay." I was like, "Ooh, oh, my fundi." I heard it in her voice. She looked at me and she said, "Are you that African?" And my whole life stopped. My whole life stopped right there, and I had to take a look at who I wasn't. Something different. I had to take a look at who I wasn't. And I sat down and said, "I know who I'm supposed to be." Hence, Ajay the African. Right? So I took on the African as a title or context, like they used to call Kunta Kinte. He's the African, that one who knows who he's connected and that will always fight for his liberation and liberation of his people. What? The African. So rise of the African in you. Well, that's what we discuss and that's what we talk about in this whole experience of the holiday season. Happy holiday. I wonder what, and I might think about that to see what holiday season looks like for the African in terms of me doing some decorating around here. Some virtual decorating. Now, in Akiba land, World of Akiba land Sundays, yeah, we definitely decorate. And so you see me come in, you see me with the fireplace, the snow outside the window. We just having that Sunday conversation, which is a beautiful thing. Me and that's all adults. This particular segment is usually not for kids. It's a little bit for the older teenagers and up, right? But this is that conversation, and so we want to make sure that if you're getting something out of this holiday experience, and that's whether it be Advent, Hanukkah, Christmas, then you got Kwanzaa, and then you got the New Year. What? Yeah, this is a whole lot of going on right now. So this the season of love. In Advent, it's the season of expectancy, going into that love experience of Christmas. And for those who are non-Christians, what? My African people who are non-Christians, you are deeply Afrocentric and you do not partake in the Christian faith. One love, I respect that. What I will sit down and say is, what level of vibration do you, what level are you vibrating on? Because if this is an experience or a season of love, this is a season of giving. This is a season of cheer. This is a season of joy. There should be something you can tap in for the non-Christian. There is something here because we are a ritualistic and a ceremonialistic people. There is something that you can find that you can harness some of this energy for the sake of you, right? Can you ritualize the moment or ceremonialize the scenario where I remember growing up. One love to everybody in New York, all my Muslims in New York, where they didn't celebrate Christmas, right? We didn't celebrate Christmas. However, the parents will make sure that there was something in the house special for them before that holiday. So it wasn't like their kids were celebrating the holidays, but you did not go without an experience of that love season. Wow. That love season. You don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You just don't. And so I'm hoping you're getting something. And as we talk about the rise of the African in this holiday season, I'll get me a Christmas hat or something. Right? Just to share some joy with you. That's it. Kwanzaa, man. I'm gonna see if man. I'm gonna try to dress up every day on every time I go online on Kwanzaa. We're gonna let it do what it do. Now on but what we ask you to do is, in this holiday season, we talking about the rise of the African. We got Christmas coming. For those Africans who do not have a Christian experience but want an African experience, how about this? Focus on the birth of the awareness of the God in you. Whoa. If you haven't heard that yet, you need to be coming to Akiba Land Sunday. That's where you need to be, right? Let's focus on the birth of your awareness of the God in you. Right now, normally we would have this thing set up where I could see the thumbs ups and the love. Right now, I said because normally, before we started, I had my man Kalonji on here, and so it gave me enough time for more technical setups. So we're gonna set that up next week. Where if you're watching us on the Facebook page of the African Speaks or on the and I believe the website also allows you to comment on it. I'll double check that again. But I know that the YouTube page allows you to comment. So we're going to set it up so that the comments can start strolling on the bottom. Right now, as we continue, what we're going to ask you to do, that if you're watching us on Facebook, please community outreach, like, comment, share. This is how we connect as a people. This is how we get that word out. I don't know what y'all were thinking when y'all first jumped into the scenario of social media marketing. Me, I realized that there was nothing up here that represented me. Nothing that I wanted to hear. Nothing that vibrated on the frequency in which I exist in reference to my level of consciousness. And I said, I have to become that in all realms. And so that's what we did. So now also, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe. We're going to do that again because it was already running. We're going to hit subscribe and hit that notification bell, right? Next week, if you're watching us on YouTube, we will be able to see your comments pop up, right? And so, or if you're watching us on the African Speaks Facebook page, that's the public page, I will be able to see your likes and your love and everything else. So please make sure you check that and take a look at that. Now, if you get a chance to take a look at other programs and projects we do, yes, we have Sunday service, Akiba Land Inspirational Sundays at noon. Tuesday night, the African Speaks at 7. Thursday night, we got Afro Stream Thursday, and it's usually at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. It's Afro Stream, which is the hot topics from the diaspora given to you from a Pan-African perspective. On Saturday, 1 o'clock, we have African history class. 2 o'clock, we have African spirituality class. Right. You cannot teach anything if you ain't teaching African spirituality. You can't get the blackness of you can't. I don't believe that you can get the youth to truly embrace what we're trying to do as a people until they understand who we are at our core spirituality. That spirituality class is important. And a lot of kids, they say they know African history, but if you don't know the spirituality that governed the people that created the history, there'll still be a disconnect. So we're still trying to connect it. Now, also, what we're going to ask you to do, because there's a lot of support going around, whole lot of support. If you have never been to the World of Akiba Land website, what I ask you to do is please wait. Let me get over here and let me get over to the home page. There we go. Come to the home page. Come. Oh, we do sell Akiba Land hoodies and sweatshirts. Y'all make sure y'all get those, and I'm gonna start dropping that commercial again. Y'all grab those shirts and those Jeramoji t-shirts and those Akiba Land hoodies for Christmas or Kwanzaa. Let's get this out. Kwanzaa. Let's get this for Kwanzaa and get ready for Black History. I'm gonna drop this Black History line in a few minutes. But y'all go out to the website, take a look at it. Embrace it, read it. Give me some feedback. Whatever we can do to make sure that we can help this grow. Let us do what we're here to do, which is develop a generation built on self determination. When you can give us a generation built on self determination, then we know that change, real change, is coming. And that's what the rise of the African and the conversations are about. It's not just that we don't just do this on Sundays for the kids, but it's time to somebody. I remember I had a brother who is a World of Akiba land investor, literally. And we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff. A big time brother, one of my brothers I went to college with. He said, "What happens when you get a gifted child with a problem parent?" And I said, "Huh?" He said, "What do you do?" He said, "Because he's seen great gifted children, but the parent are the issue." I said, "Well," I said, "that means we develop classes and programs and things for the adults. And that's what my community does." Now, I sat down and said, well, I'm the I'm actually the leading person when it comes to live streaming. Show me somebody who could do it better, and then I'll digress. But because it is me, I sat down and said I'll work on the online classes as well for the adults. Hence, DaAfrican Speaks. Yes. So go ahead and check us out. And if you feel moved, scroll down and donate. Click on something. If I click on something, see how it pops up? Yeah. We had everything leads to somewhere. Everything leads to somewhere. Everything leads to somewhere. Yeah. So take a look at it. Tell me how you feel. Thank you. All right. All right. And so now, oh, I cannot forget this before we get started. All right. I'm going through it because this is serious. The African Speak is moving to a scenario where we're asking the community to come out and communicate. We're asking the community to log in to a Zoom and have open dialogue. We're asking the community to share the things that you know, the things that you feel, and the vision that you have for black people, right? And I say that with all sincerity because I've just finished developing and a scenario where we can have me pull in a Zoom session inside the live stream where I get to brand it. Yeah. See that? Yeah. Sometimes we will have closed sessions where it's a panel. And that we've done that before where there's certain individuals coming in and they have to have a number and it's a secured lock. And then, we always, as a community, we always have these Zoom classes, but because it can't be branded and it's, behind closed doors. But this is a platform and it's a scenario where we could actually come together as a group, as a community, share dialogue. Black people need to see not just the academic side of our community, but they need to see the average individual. I joined the church really when I saw a brother, One Love. I'm going to mention your name. His name was Mawata. When I got to know who he was as a person, I said, wait a minute. That brother vibes on the same frequency as I do. You know what I mean? Because you talk to me in organized religion, I could not be a square, and I'm so far from it. And I sat down and said, that brother walks in the same walk that I walk in, and if he can find his identity in here and not have to be somebody he's not, but he focuses on who he is, and I can do it too. So we need the community's voice so that people can see that we are a community, and it's not just an individual speaking, it's a community. And so this is open up to the community, and before, I'll go public soon with it. Y'all got a lot coming next year. Y'all get ready. But if y'all look, you saying, see, I got the advertisements up for because at one point it was just we were just saying we were coming, but now we're actually here. Now we are actually here. Now, and so check it out. So calling on the PAOCC, calling on the PAOCC. Y'all hit me up via my email, and so that we can have these community conversations and discussions and talk about what it looks like to move forward and what it has looked like for the last 68 years building counter institutions. We're going to talk about that tonight. Building counter institutions inside a system of opera conditioning systematic racism. That's it. Counter institutions. Now, on to the business. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks the rise of the African. And in the rise of the African, what we've been dealing with was making it a Pan African, a social media Pan African movement, meaning that it's time for us to do the Marcus Garvey numbers. It's time for us to this. I do this well, but I also build. That's one thing. I can talk about it, but I can be about it too. Can you talk and be about it? Because we have a lot of people conversating, but not a very few of us are building. And so, World of Akib Land and everything and online things and what we do in the communities, it's real. We build. I just sit down and said, look, I need a space where I can create a voice where other voices can be heard. And so that's what this is. But we build. And so, we've been talking about the rise of African as a social media, and then what areas as a social media Pan African movement. And so we were breaking it down, and I wanted y'all to get where I'm talking about the rise of the Africans because there was a video, and I hope you've seen the video. And if you haven't, I said I'm going to actually play this video again because when I break and we had a couple of areas that we had where when we dealt with this video, we had a couple of areas that we talked about. So I'm gonna play the video first, and then I'm gonna break the we have a recap, but then I'm gonna take you to a whole new area where it's gonna make you see something completely different. You know how you can see something, and when you look at it again, you see something new, right? That's when your mind is opening up, and you like, whoa, I didn't notice that, and it's all it is growth. And so let's take a look at it.
Tokyo ben muta men kokolungo tamandi alikana baramandi bukunti yo nata folo sunkuto le kama wai amana folo baria banalade
Bring the girl to me. Mr. Mac.
Wato sito lewa yo nikuti yo ye bonda yeli abe fana tensu kuto mala kotek Alamagantala Olunta
Hey, take me off. Now, in it, you'll see we need Africans who are not afraid to take over a slave ship and lead us back to Africa. In this conversation, we're not talking about Africa going back to Africa as a geological issue, but this is a mental, emotional, spiritual movement to the awareness of who you are in God. It's a whole thing, and this is when she would say we need those Africans. So when I said okay, we're gonna redo the African Speaks, we're gonna go after the social media marketing, we're gonna go after Marcus Garvey numbers, we're going after the Marcus, and we're gonna discuss. Or because AfroStream is for that Pan African experience, so make sure that you go to AfroStream on Thursday so we can get that. And I might set up a conversation scenario where we can all log in and discuss the international aspects of Pan Africanism, right, of what's going on around the world. And that's important that you see and need to know. But we're going to talk about our African experience in the Americas. We are the African diaspora here in the U.S. Now, look, I cannot talk to you about being African and being colonized in Africa. No, I can't talk to you about that. I can't even talk to you about being Spanish, being in the DR or being in Puerto Rico or being in Panama or being black. I can't talk to you about that. No. Look, Magwan now, I can't even talk to you about being in the Caribbeans and being a black man in the Caribbean. I can't do that. But I can talk to you about what it means to be an African American an African Indian American experience here. I can talk to you what it means to be an African minded man who is not afraid to take over a slave ship, which is that institution that continues to lock us down, keeping us from who we are. Take it over and rebuild it into something different, meaning create counter institutions that lead us back to a clear understanding of who we are in God. Now, when I watched that video, I was able to come up with a couple of things. The first conversation when we discussed about utilizing tools to organize, to communicate, and to gather, right? And so when we sat down and said we were watching them singing, they were singing and looking like they was dancing. The drums was drumming. They were utilizing the tools that they had to come together. And I said, so now what are the tools that we have? But now social media marketing, all the cyberspace, mobile apps, if we don't start, because we still have the newspapers, we got emails, you know what I'm saying? We still writing books, but then we have to use now the media that goes across the boundaries. Marcus Garvey had to get on a boat to travel somewhere. What do we have to do? And that's the part that we want to get to. We don't want to have to travel all over to bring black people together. It would be good to travel. Ain't nothing wrong with traveling. But we want to be able to use the tools. The other thing was the fact that self-determination is a faith-based value. Woo! Self-determination is a faith-based value. Because I sat down and we broke it down. It's like, wait a minute. They have to be able to see themselves in the sight of God. I don't belong on this ship to be a slave. No, so I'm going to be able to use whatever I can use to fight against this situation. You got to believe in your being. Wow. That you're supposed to be self-determined. If your faith is not leading you to a place where you're building toward the liberation of your people in some shape, form, or fashion, where you got counter institutions, where it's not, we're going to talk about that all black everything thing. We're going to discuss that for real. Because during African history class, we say your education should lead you to two different places. Whether it be your religious education or your academic education. Two different things you're supposed to learn in your education. One, how to function in a society of systematic oppression. You need to know how to go to and fro. If you're not educating your kids how to go to and fro, how to balance out, then you're not helping them at all. You don't. Now, one of the other things that we have to do is also, in terms of our education, the second thing is you're supposed to be leading them to liberation. If the education your kids are receiving and they're not leading to liberation, if you're not sitting down with your children before they graduate high school and you talking about their dreams, and then what happens if the nation or the black people need you, what are you called to do in that light? When you raise kids in an experience and you have an institution and all the kids just go poof poof, did we drop the ball? Wow, that's one of the books I was reading. Did we drop the ball on our youth? One love, Cardinal Sunday. Did we drop the ball? And that's something that we have to look at as a people. And so that came up. Self-determination is a faith-based value. There is no way you can say you believe in God if you have to be controlled by another people. Ooh, that's deep. That's deep. I wonder if your faith teaches you that. The other one we was talking about was liberation has a vibration. When the brother was playing the drums, and one day I was sleeping, and I woke up and I remembered that his eyes was ingrained, and it was like he wasn't talking, but he was talking. And then I remembered and studied that, wait a minute, I remember it was illegal to play African drums once they got here because it was a form of communication. And they could communicate with each other through the rhythm from tribe to tribe to tribe. So if you heard a drum, you heard it from plantation to plantation to plantation. It took them a minute. Now, they would only allow them to do it on a slave ship. Why? Because they wanted them to play music that would keep them calm. But the minute you hit United States land or wherever you were going to in the diaspora, no more drums, because they understood the power of the vibration that it gives us, that rhythm. They knew more than what we know now. Ain't that something? What? They knew more about us then than what we know now, because we don't use our drums as a means to line us in our frequencies with the presence of power of God that will allow us to do anything. African spirituality, we know that God is in everything. Everything is sacred. This cup is sacred, right? We're going to talk about that. Why? I'm not going to give it all up. Make sure y'all show up this Saturday, because woo, we about to go in on it this Saturday with this African. We going taking it up a notch. Taking it up a notch. So y'all make sure y'all come. I don't want to spill the goods, but it's good. But everything is sacred. Everything has the energy of God in it. And so the rhythm, the vibrations of liberation has a vibration. That's when you're hitting a certain level of consciousness. Wait. I think I got something for that. Yep. Pow. That's when you're hitting a certain level of consciousness. Liberation has a vibration. Liberation has a vibration. And so then we also talked about how self-determination is faith-based. You can't bring black people together if they don't understand you ain't coming together to build something in the name of God. That's kingdom building. What did God call this people to do? Right? And so I got that from that. Hey, yeah, you got that. If you ain't talking about determination, there's something wrong with you and your faith. Right? We were able to do a whole lot in reference to our faith. And there's the history book you call the Bible. It is about a people being self-determined. So how we missed that one? We talk about that too. So we want to get there, but now, and so I was wondering whether or not I was going to reference the video again. And so I was slowly coming back, and I said, it's funny because I got two more conversations that will come off that video. So when I looked at the video, the next thing I realized it was hitting me. I was like, whoa, a shared identity. A shared identity. So we're talking on tonight about the rise of the African, our shared identity. Are we black enough? Woo! Are we black enough? Now, to break this down, right? Because I was breaking it down. I was looking at the video and said, okay, so how did he get that from the video, right? You got to know, one, you got to know your history. You got to know that when they captured us in the continent of Africa, it wasn't, let's get this whole tribe and we're going to take this whole tribe and this whole tribe is going to go. No, it was pockets of tribes. And if you know anything about African history and African spirituality, if you got 4,200 different tribes in Africa, which you do, you got 4,200 different languages. You got 4,200 different religions, right? And so how do they get together where they had that common identity? They knew one thing on that ship. It was clear. One thing. We don't belong here. We don't belong slaves, and we don't belong being whipped. So we have an identity shared. Whether I see eye to eye with you, I know who you are in God, and you also know who I am. We got that brother Drummond, and he's communicating to us because you know that African history, spirituality, you got to get this. We're going to be studying on these Saturdays. Them griots would travel from community to community to community to community and talk and interact. I see you, Denise. One love. All right, thank you, girl. You know, community. Right, Adrian, got you. So anybody, I say again, I got to sit down and set this up so I can see people who popping in. Right. So in that scenario, you know, you had the griots that was traveling, telling stories so that other tribes would learn about other tribes through the griots. Then you had drums. You could hear and get messages from place to place off a drum. Okay, let me play it. And it would travel. So I'm watching and I'm saying there is no way that they took a whole community, right? They took individuals. And so in that individual, they said, we knew whether or not I agree with you at home, I know one thing, that we have a common identity right now, and right now is we need to fight for our freedom. We being mistreated. They're trying to make us slaves, and that's one thing that we are not. Not according to our history, not according to our heritage. We are not. And slow. The common denominator on the slave ship was, yo, we either gonna be free men or we gonna be slaves. Which one are we choosing? Everybody chose, some of them chose it. Well, we gonna be free men and we gonna fight. We can't fight, then we jumping over the ship. We gonna die. Why? Because how they looked at spirituality. Wow. Do you think your God would allow you or accept the fact that you became a slave and chose not to fight? Not to stand up to be, and understand that we're in a different era, so fighting may not be physical. But if you have an opportunity to build something, why aren't you building it? Why aren't we building it? Are we black enough? And that's something that we got to take a look at. Now, when I say, are we black enough? I always talk about the issue of, and this is not the home of the brave, right? It's not the home of the brave. We live in not the land of the brave. We live in the land of the gray area. We live in the land of the gray area. On the slave ship, it was clear. On a slave ship, it was absolutely clear the identity that everybody shared. But when you're dealing with the issue of black people, you're dealing with the issue of systematic racism, you realize that all the compromises that this society made, the compromises wasn't made off of a human, a crime against humanity. Those compromises wasn't made, was a crime. They made those decisions in terms of to loosen up on the physical abuse and the ownership of a human being, but lock down the systematic oppression all around them. So we're gonna ease up on the abuse, but then we're gonna give them some freedoms and make them believe that you are equals. Ain't that something? So it went from black and white, where it was clear, and sometimes it's only clear to us when we're watching police brutality on social media as though it was entertainment. Ain't that something? When we're watching presidential candidates throw up white supremacist signs, that's when it's clear. When we sitting down and we waiting for the verdict of police brutality and see if we got any justice for that one situation, that's only when it's clear. But when you get up and you can go party, you can dance, you can go get your job, make your money, that's when you start leaning into the gray area. We're living more into the gray area than we are living to the black and white area. Are we black enough or too black? I remember that it's funny because my sibling wrote a book, Too Black and Not Black Enough. And yeah, I never read it. I never read it, but I understood the purpose of what he was saying. When my father told me, he did it, I said, okay, I get that. Now, here's a clear thing. Being too black or not black enough only happens if you're dealing with a issue of your American experience. Now, of course, you know how they talk about taking your black card. I had my black card taken a couple of times. I had a friend, and we were playing this game about lyrics of songs. I couldn't guess none of the song lyrics. She was shocked. Right? Oh, after First Friday, I don't even remember vaguely next Friday and Friday after next. Yeah, people be like, yo, you losing your black card. The issue about being black is about whether or not we are embracing our American experience. Think about it. It's about whether or not we are embracing our American experience. Because being black in America, black has no culture other than the culture that American gives us. Woo. And it don't look too good when you talk about being black in America. Again, I can't speak for being black in the Caribbeans, but being black in America has no culture, has no value system, has nothing that leads us to a sense of liberation. Being black in America, claiming your and not saying blackness, but just black in America, right? Being black in America doesn't lead us to having a liberated mindset. Being black in America doesn't lead us to have an enlightened spirit. Being black in America doesn't keep us from physical exploitation or self-exploitation. Being black in America doesn't do any of that when you're just black in America. So when you say am I black or too black or black enough, it doesn't matter when all you talking about your American experience. When you still stuck in your gray area. Because if being black in America keeps you trapped in mental slavery, what good is it? What does it do? It's not about just being black in America, getting out of that gray spot. And I've been saying this and saying this and saying this and realize that I'm gonna use this phrase more often. We are American Africans. Meaning that the weight, and I should have had a scale. The scale of our American experience is heavier than our African experience. Then what we know about who we are in God, it's heavier. So it don't matter if you black or too black. Not black enough or too black. It doesn't matter. Why? Because you're living in a gray area. You have not made a decision to sit down and say, I need to be a part of an organization that fights towards the liberation of our people, that build, that all black everything. All black everything is only an economic movement. It's not an institutional development. Now, and I know that might get a lot of people started, right? Oh, brother, we need to start somewhere. Yeah. You need to find an institution that you could be a part of that builds something. So if we sitting down and we talking about all black everything, we have a lot of black, rich, economically rich black individuals who could start a chain of hospitals in our communities, who can start a chain of black supermarkets that is supported by a chain of black farms. Come on now, we not broke. We got more access to information than we ever have. And how do we use it? To entertain. What? That's that mental slavery. That's what being black in America gets you. That mental slavery. It locks you in. It keeps you from thinking greater, from vibrating. Woo! Let me get that in there. From vibrating on a higher frequency. That God consciousness, being black in America, doesn't do anything for you but keep you a slave. Now, we can talk. Because when I saw that common denominator on that ship, they were all Africans. Yes. They were all clear that they come with a set of values, morals. They come with a greater history. They were clear. When you're looking at the things inferred into a story, do you look at a picture or do you look at a picture? Some people say, hey, brother, how do you feel about that trauma porn? I said, well, it's only trauma porn if you still black in America. And you can't handle because you have no way of thinking beyond that experience. Right? But when you sit down and I remember a clip of Malcolm X saying, he was saying, we need you to act in a Afro American way. That Afro meant something. The African American meant something. Let me drop this in here now. Right? Where your African comes first and your American comes last. I can't talk to you about being in any other location in diaspora but the place that I'm at. And I can tell you that in order for me to get a clear vision of myself, if I only focus on the education and the institutions that I live that are surrounded by me, I will always be subjected to this mental slavery. But it's that African in you that gives you that culture. It is that African in you that gives you that tradition. It is that African in you that gives you that history. It is the African in you that connects you to your identity in God. It is that African in you that will lead your spirit to build something greater than what you see. I'm not talking about traveling and leaving. Well, some of us are packing up. Stevie Wonder left. He said he done. He took his whole family. Done. Ain't that something? Now, during the Quadcentennial, which is 400 years since we've been here, which was 2019, I hope y'all celebrated it. Why? Because we built this nation. And if we built this nation, why can't we build a nation inside a nation? And we got to be careful because it looks like the only ones that they're allowing to make millions. If you got a son who's an athlete who's athletic and he's got to be an athlete, or he's moving, he's running, he's jumping, he's ball, whatever it is, if you raised him only to sit down and entertain, you allowed him to be self-exploited. He's exploiting himself, and and they're exploiting him too. Shoot, if I can pay you 400, 30 million a year, what am I making as a white man? What are they making? What is the institutions making? A grip. Now, if you educate the kids as they go and they develop and understand that you are an African first and you have a community. And so if God blesses you with this, please think, not frivolously throw your money away. No, either create an institution or find an institution that you believe in that builds on behalf of black people. We have to find that common ground. And that's what this is. This is that common ground. Are you more African in your existence than you're American? Because we have people, I don't care if you dancing. That means you still black in America, but you just got a sprinkle right there. You just got to sprinkle of black. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you, funny, I said I'm going to create a new word. I'm Afro black. I'm Afro black. I'm so black, I'm Afro blue black. I'm glow in the dark black. Well, my spirit won't let me sit. Still, I can't even watch somebody else who is in charge to do it and say, okay, yeah, we could be doing more. And I'm always like that. Always like that. We can be doing more. And I'd rather show you better than just tell you. Why? Because it's the spirit that is embodied in me. And I'm trying to share it so that it can be embodied in you. Why? Because I want to see in my lifetime a sense or a form of the rise of the African. I want to see us pour into a younger generation that comes up with the understanding of self-determination. That's what, for the 40 years, World of Akibaland has been based off of that. Yes. Man, I got some changes coming. Y'all make sure y'all go see the website. But there's going to be some serious growth going on with World of Akibaland next year. Serious growth. So I call on all World of Akibaland alumni, all of you. I call on all of the people in the church community, PAOCC, Pan African Orthodox Christian Church, Shrines of Black Madonna. I call on all of you to show people what it looks like not to live in the gray. Wow. Where there is a clear decision that my African is greater than my American experience. That's something different. Where you're building countercultures. What? Yeah, my Afro Black says build something that is controlled, run, and governed by an Afrocentric mindset. When the kids get up, they're not trying to be employees. They're not even trying to be business or entrepreneurs. They're trying to be nation builders. Ain't that something? That's real power. You got Africa being developed into a juggernaut right now. A juggernaut. Make sure y'all connect to AfriStream. You got, and we're gonna talk about this Thursday. The Ghana, the president of Ghana was labeled the African of the Year award. Whoa, by Forbes. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna just dissect that in terms of what does that mean and why did he get it. Woo! If you don't know about that, make sure you tune in because we about to go in. Because they don't have the issue of that balance of African American, which one they're choosing. No, their issue is I'm from Ghana, I'm here in Ghana. Am I colonized or not colonized? Colonizing mine, not colonized mine. Either way, I'm still from Ghana. Ghana says, hey, we know a lot of y'all left from Ghana. And so we're going to ask you to come back to where? Ghana. To build what? Ghana. Work for a black company that is going to own its own airplanes, own its own airports, own its own food production, own its own transportation setup. They're building it, and we're going to do this again on AfriStream. The Trans-African Highway, woo, to connect all of Africa trade. Man, I can't wait to talk about that on Saturday. Why? Because it's going to connect that African trade. The African Highway is the same thing that the Nile was. What? We about to kill it. Y'all need to connect because it's time for us to embrace the African in us. Whether you black or too black or not black enough, it means nothing if your blackness is not rooted in African culture and spirituality and a sense of awareness or who you are or who we are in God. So none of us, we all too black sometimes, too American. We're all not black enough, not African. That's all of us. So we need to sit down and embrace the African side of that title because an Irishman, an Irish American, they lean on that, the Irish side. They love the American side. I'm not saying I'm not even gonna tell her I don't love the country that we built because I do. I'm glad I'm here. I couldn't be doing this if I didn't. Right. But it is my job to do this. Not just to live as though that we're not in a struggle no more. No, my African is heavier. Why? Because I'm still shaking off this mental slavery, this spiritual slavery, this emotional slavery. You got to shake it off. And the African side of you has to be stronger. Why? Because we need to get out of this gray area and know who we are. It says African history, brother says always says the home team, and I'm pulling some information off his site, and I got to plug him because one love. I ain't going to study some stuff and not share it with you, but make sure you show up on Saturday. But we always saying know thyself, know your ancestors, right? It is more than that. Knowing thyself is knowing who you are in God. It's spiritual. It's that spiritual root that keeps you out of that gray area and will keep you fine-tuned to walking in ways that only God will have. Ain't that something? Let's get out the gray area and let our African be stronger in our American experience so that we are able to vibrate at a higher frequency. This way, we can have a common identity that is worth being in the presence and power of God. And so that we be able to move forward doing things in this life, in this world, that our children's children's children can be proud of. We got a generation of giants that have gone before us. What is this generation going to do? I know what I'm going to try to do. I'm going to do the best I can with allowing the African in me and the African in everybody that I come in contact to rise. I hope to see you Thursday night on AfriStream starting at 6:30. One love.